Hey everyone, Rob here from Daisho Tactical. Today I'm bringing you a brief video on what is the proper stock length for your rifle, for your AR-15. Now, when I'm teaching all the time, I'll see people with their stock retracted all the way in. And they'll show up and this is how they run their rifle day in, day out. And then when I'm teaching a section on zeroing, I'll say, well, does the stock retract to this position because you're supposed to use it this way, or so you can fit it in a case? And usually they all think about it and they go, well, so I can fit it in the case. Correct. Well, why do you try to use it that way then? And I know the answer. It's because they want to be all like shit hot and CQB like, right? Because the shorter the stock is, the farther this muzzle is away from whatever corner I'm trying to pie around, and therefore it's closer and tighter, and therefore I can work that angle better, right? Theoretically. Yeah, theoretically to some degree there is some truth to that. However, you're sacrificing a lot of your ability to properly use the rifle when your stock is this short. So, what is the appropriate length? How do we find it? Well, how do we find our appropriate, we call length of pull? Well, the good traditional method that I use is I put the stock in the crook of my arm like so, and I want my finger should naturally lay on the trigger when it is in the crook of my arm. And if it's, for example, like this, too short, you can see my finger doesn't really naturally lay in that trigger very well. See, there's kind of an excessive bend there. As opposed to a more appropriate length, see how it more naturally lays on the trigger. Now that's just a starting point. You can adjust from there in or out. If this was like an entry gun, I would go, okay, you want to be more CQB-like, you want a shorter profile, I'm with you. One click in. For me, if I'm generally using the rifle not in a CQB environment, right there. For me, that's where I usually generally run this rifle, at that length. Now, what's the advantage of having that appropriate length of pull set up? Well, let's talk about the disadvantages of having it too short. So I'm all the way in here, real tight like this. You see this big bend in my wrist here, and it's kind of hard to show on camera. There's a pretty significant bend in my wrist, okay? That bend in my wrist means I'm not really as strong as I would be if my wrist was straighter. It inhibits my ability to mitigate recoil well. It also inhibits my ability to control the rifle and keep it from being taken away from me. It hurts me in a lot of little ways. Okay. Additionally, if I'm trying to put the weapon up in my workspace, that is dependent upon like how easy it is to manipulate this weapon and swing it around. My body is dependent on how much distance is between this and this. The more distance I have between these 2 points, the more leverage I have for manipulating this weapon. It makes it a lot easier to do so. So right now, it's basically my hand is doing all the work here, my wrist and my hand, because I'm not really getting a lot of help from my forearm from that leverage. So how does that look in contrast to when I'm using the appropriate stock length? Well, now this wrist is a lot straighter. Okay, there's no bend in it. A lot easier for me to mitigate that recoil. A lot easier for me to maintain control of this weapon if someone's trying to take it away from me. Additionally, if I'm going to go into a workspace position, you see the distance between this and way down here is much longer. I have leverage now. It's a lot easier for me to control the weight of this rifle and move it around. It's huge. So this is the appropriate length. Are there exceptions to this? One in my mind that is worth noting. If I'm doing like a vehicle-borne operation, like I'm going to be in a car and I'm going to be in a really like high-risk environment, understanding the law enforcement side. When I was working in the gang unit as a detective, sometimes I would be in that situation where I would be driving up to something that was really potentially very hot with people who I know were in fact were armed, and I didn't want to be caught in a car trying to manipulate this big weapon around in that small space. Sure, let's bring this down. Not so concerned with defending the weapon from being taken away from me, and I'll mitigate the recoil, but I'm more concerned on getting this rifle to bear on a target in a very enclosed space inside a vehicle. That's really the only exception I can think of. Other than that exception, I want to run this rifle at a stock length that works best for me. Once you find the stock length that works best for you, I recommend you get like a silver Sharpie and mark it right here what stock length works best for you. I've used this stock quite a bit so I can see the line where I usually use it when I'm teaching, so it's really easy for me to find that spot. Some stocks have like numbers and stuff down here where you can see it. This one doesn't. It's kind of worth noting that some pistol grip manufacturers, aftermarket accessories for your rifle like Magpul, they do make pistol grips that are more kind of angled this way, so it's more straight up and down, so you can use a shorter stock without having such an extreme angle in your wrist. Those are designed specifically kind of for like a CQB setup rifle. I'm not a big fan of them because I'm more of a traditionalist in this grip angle, but that is an option out there if you do want to have a somewhat shorter stock but still have a kind of a good grip on the rifle. So that's all I got on your proper stock length for your rifle. This is a relatively new channel. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, hit the little bell. You know how YouTube works, or better off if you're seeing me on Rumble, please subscribe on that platform as well. A better way to support my channel is go to my website, daishotactical.com. There you can find a variety of sling products that I sell. I make all those here at home on my workbench. Every sling that comes out of my store is handmade by me. Thanks for watching.